Welcome back. We are into video lesson 8, and I believe that you have been practicing and you're really making significant progress in developing your skills. Now, today we are going to handle the final part of Microsoft Word, and what we're going to do is first of all, we're going to open a new document. We've been working in the previous document, we've done a lot. We want to open a totally new document so that it also helps you to practice in terms of how do you load Microsoft Word. And then we're going to dive into something very unique today in this lesson, whereby we're going to write a letter. I'm going to show you what you're going to do with this letter. In fact, what we're going to learn in this lesson, it's one of the most important part of using Microsoft Word. And my prayer and what I would urge you to do is you will pay close attention to understand the process that you're going to carry out, because on daily basis, if you are working in an office, or if you, let's say, if you're someone who really writes a lot of correspondences, meaning maybe you write a lot of letters, you respond to people, what we're going to learn today, the technique you're going to learn today in this lesson, it is going to help you a lot. Let me explain. Think about a secretary who works in an office. At any given day, she has to respond or write letters to a big number of people, or several people. Let's take for instance, let's say you're a secretary. Of course you're not, but let's assume that you're a secretary, and you are working in this company, and this company decides they want to do what you call mass recruitment. Okay, and so you're required to write a letter, or let's say you get applications from candidates after the organization makes the advertisement. They get all the application from the candidates, and then you are supposed to write a letter inviting all these candidates to an interview. Let's say it's like 150 applicants. Now, what does that mean? It does mean that you have to sit on your computer and write 150 letters, because these candidates, they have different names, their addresses are different, so you have to go and sit down and write 150 letters. Now, how long will you take for you to write 150 letters? It's gonna take you a long time. And remember, that's not the only thing that you're supposed to do in that office. You have a lot of other things that you need to do. And so I want to show you a procedure that you can use. Rather than going to your computer, sitting down and chunking out 150 letters, which is not easy, I want to show you a technique that you can use, or a procedure that you can use, whereby you only write one letter. And then with this procedure, Microsoft Word can write or reproduce 150 letters for you, addressed to different people. That you don't have to write the 150 letters. You only write one letter, and then you go through a procedure that enables Microsoft Word to produce for you 150 letters, all addressed to different people. That is exactly what you're going to do in this lesson. It's one of the most important feature of Microsoft Word, or the process of Microsoft Word. It's able to make your work easier. So I want you to pay close attention and let's do that. So for now, we are going to launch Microsoft Word, and then we get into work. So let's do it. So I'm going to come down here to search. I just click there, and then I'm going to type Microsoft Word, and here it is. So double click. I will give it time to load. All right, here we are. Close. Now let's assume that our margins are correct. Let's assume that our redaction is correct. So we're not going to do any page setup right here. You know how to do it, so we're just going to dive in and get started. Now, here's what you're going to do. We're going to write a letter. Let's say we're writing this letter inviting these applicants to come for a job interview, and we want them to come at different times and at different days. Okay, so let's just write that letter very fast. We're going to write a very simple letter, so let's do it. Let's say you are invited. You are invited. Sorry, invited to a job interview. We write a very basic letter. The point is not the letter. The point is to show you how this procedure works. You're invited for a job interview. Actually, you're invited for a job interview on, and since they are going to come for this job interview on different dates, we are not going to write the date. We're just going to leave that one as a space without anything. On, at, that is when the job interview will be taking place. So at, and since it's going to be taking place at different time for these applicants, want to leave that just as it is, or without actually entering the time. So you are invited for a job interview on, at, and then the interview will be taking place at the boardroom. Okay, the interview will be taking place at the boardroom at the company's boardroom. Kindly bring with you all your original documents. All right, we want to make it very simple. The point here is to learn how this one works. Let's highlight it. Let's change the font to 14, and let's change the font type to Gabriel. Let's move it down for the purposes of let's see, you are invited. Let's have re. Okay, re. Sorry. And then you have job interview invitation. Job interview invitation. Then you're going to push this one down a little bit. 14 seems, I think that's okay. So we're going to have now here here we're supposed to have the greeting line where we say dear so and so. The point here is not teaching you how to write a letter. The point here is I want to show you that a procedure that you can use, and rather than produce hundreds of letters, if your target is to write for 100 candidates, I want to show you a procedure that you can use to only write one letter. So now let's enter the address of the company here, and this company is let's call the company what's the name of the company? Let's call it what? Let's call it Ericad. Technologies, Erica Technologies, and then you have PO Box. This is Machakos. Okay, so now this is the name of the, or rather this is the address of the company that is sending out this letter inviting these candidates to come and do their interview. Allow me to remove this one. I shall tell you why. Now, naturally you would want to have, or naturally what you would do is you would want to enter the address of the company that is sending or the center of this letter, and down here you would want to enter the address of the recipient and then of course the letter. But notice here we are not going to enter the address of the recipient. Why? We have several recipients and they have different addresses. If I enter, or if we do enter the address of the recipients here, then we are forced to write 150 letters that are separate. Let's say in this case we want to send this letter to 5 candidates, so we are forced to write 5 letters. It's going to take a lot of time. We don't have time for that. We want to make use of MS Word in a way that it gives us 5 letters without us having to type 5 letters. So we're not going to enter the address of the recipients here. In this procedure that I'm about to show you, you only enter the address of the center and you come up with the letter. You don't enter the dates of the interview because the dates of the interview are different for the different candidates. If you do enter the dates here, then you are required to write 5 letters if you're inviting 5 candidates, because those letters are supposed to have different dates. If you enter the time again and they are going to be interviewed at different times, if you enter the time here, let's say you say it's 10 p.m. It's up 10 a.m. when the interview starts, then you're forced to write again 5 letters because this letter they have to have different interview time. So you don't do it here. You just write the symbol letter, you leave the dates, and you leave the time. Then I'll show you how we are going to integrate the date and the address of the recipients into this letter at the end of the day. All right, great. So now what we're going to do at this moment is let's first of all, let's save this letter so that you don't lose it. You can use this save button, or you can go to file and click save. I'm gonna go to use save button, so click save, and then let's call it Erica Tech. That is okay, or let's just call it interview letter. Let's save it somewhere. I want to save it on the desktop. I showed you how to save. You go to desktop, you double click desktop, and I want to save it here on my course practice. I double click my course practice, opens up. You can see our yesterday's, or rather our previous day's work. So I'm gonna save it here, so I click save. Great. So now let's continue. Now listen, this letter we've just written, it's called main document. All right, this is what we call main document. Now we are going to have to create another document that we call data source, and in the data source contains the names of the recipients, including the date and the time they're supposed to come for that interview. You create it separately, and then you run a procedure that you call mail merging. Mail merging. Let me type it for you. It's called, we call that procedure mail merging. Now we all know that the word merge basically means combine it together. Why are we merging? Because we are creating the data source, which is the document that holds the time and the date of the interview and the recipient address, and then combining that together with this letter, which we are calling main document. So the combining together is what we are calling merging. Mail, of course, we are dealing with the letters, and so these are mails, right? So now let me delete that. Let's get started. So now that we have our main document ready, I think we can finish up with this letter. This can be yours, or we can write yours, and then you can have name of someone, maybe who, Jane, or we can leave it for signature, and then down there we just write secretary. Again, I'm not teaching you how to write a letter. What I'm teaching you is a process that you can use that will enable you, if you require to write a letter that is supposed to go to several recipients, this procedure will enable you to write only one letter. Then you get the word to reproduce letters that are equal to the number of recipients, right? So I'm not teaching you to write a letter. If you're writing an official letter, of course, here you can make sure that whether you put yours faithfully or yours sincerely, it's a formal letter, then use the right term. All right, so now we have our document. What do you do? The next step that you do is you create your data source, and it's a step-by-step procedure on how we get there. So you have your document. Here is how you start the process. You start the process by going to mailings menu. So go to mailings menu, click mailings menu, and then you go to start mail merge, right? Click start mail merge, and we are mail merging letters. So you go down and click letters. That is the first step. All right, the next step, you come here, select recipient. Now what Microsoft Word require at this point is, who are the recipients of these letters? This is now where we enter our recipients, and this is where we create our data source. So you come here and click type a new list. Since you don't have any recipients list, you click type a new list, and a window will open. This is a window that opens. This is what you call address list window. This is where we enter the names of the recipients. You can see title, first name, last name, name of the company. If I drag along, you get to see a lot of labels for addressing. We have company name with address line 1, address line 2, address line 3. All these are fields, and you're required to enter the details of the recipient there. Now, of course, we don't need all these details, things like a zip code, things like address line 1, things like state, things like country, home phone. We don't need all this. We want to write a simple letter, and so we're going to customize these fields so that we only retain the ones that we need for this letter, and we do away with any other that we do not need. Right, so what we're going to do is you're going to click customize columns. So click customize columns, and you can see all your fields here. Now, at this point, you want to remove what is not necessary. In your case, only retain those fields that you need. Now, we don't need title. We're not going to address them by their title. So you select title, then you click delete, and you say yes, that one is gone. We don't need address line 2. So we delete it. You click yes. You don't need zip code. You click zip code. You click delete. You click yes. If you really need some of those, only remove. Okay, this is based on your case, right? Remove only what you don't need. If you really need state or zip code, retain it. You don't have to remove it. If you really need home phone to be in their address, then you retain it. But in our case, we don't need them. So go to remove home phone. You click it, and then you click delete. You click yes. you remove work phone, so just click where we have work phone, then I click delete command. I say yes, I want to delete it. We don't need their email, so I click email, I click delete, and I say yes, I want to delete this one. We only need first name, last name of the recipient, company. They are not working any company, we are addressing individuals. Of course, if this is an official letter whereby it's like a B2B, a company writing for another company, then you might want to retain the field name of the company. In this case, we are writing to individuals, so we don't need this. So I'll select it, and then I'm going to click delete, and then I click yes. Now, of course, we need their address, but we don't want to have it named address line 1 because we do not have address line 2. So we're going to do here, we are going to rename, change the name of this to just address, not address line 1. So how do you do it? You select the field, then you click rename. Then I will click here, and then I'll only delete using backspace the line 1. That is it, and then I click OK, and there you are. Country, we want to retain it as country, not country or region. So we want to rename it. You click rename, and then you click at the end of that field, and then you only delete or region and you retain country. You click OK. State, we don't want state. You can put county if you want the county to be indicated, but in this case let's assume we don't want state, so select state, then I click delete, and then yes. Awesome. Now we are almost there, but a few things are remaining. Remember how we never entered the date when this card is supposed to come for the interview, and how we didn't enter the time? This is exactly where you put them, because they are different for each candidate. So you want to put them here in what you are calling data source. So right now we are creating what we call data source. So how do you add a new field that does not exist here? It's easy. You just click add. Okay, so we click add. Let's add a field called date. Just type, you click OK. Then let's add another field called time. So I click add, I add another field called time, and then I click OK. Great, we are almost there. Now what we need to do at this point is we need to arrange them the way we want them to follow each other. So we want to start with the first name, last name, address, city, but we don't want the date to be here and the time to be here. After the city, we want to have country. So I'm going to pick country and move it up. All I need to do is you click country and then use this move up command. So click this move up command or button, and the country moves up there. So now I have city, country, date, and time. Now let's say for instance you want to have this time starting at the top there for some reason. You can select the time and you move it up. You keep on tapping on clicking move up and it will move up, right? Let's say you want this first name or you want this city down there. You can click city and then you use move down, and then you can move it down. Okay, so you can rearrange these ones by using move up, move down. You arrange them the way you want. Of course, we don't want our time to be at the top, so let's bring it down. So select time and I move it down, and there we are. I select the city. It should come between address and country, so select the city, and let's move it up. Great. Now we seem to be almost ready. Let's do one more thing. We want now to quit from this. We've customized our address fields the way we want. We want to quit from this so that we can now enter our candidates. So let's do it. How do you do it? Pretty simple. You just click OK, and now here you are. If I'm using this, you notice we have a bar here, and we call this we learned what this is. We said it's horizontal scroll bar. So if I scroll sideways, notice now my fields have been customized. They only have what I need. The rest have been deleted. So now what I need now is to enter those candidates. So let's enter their name. We have John, and their other name is McKay, and then their address is P.O. Box, right? The city is Kisumu, and the country is Kenya. And then move along. Now, when is John supposed to come for interview? The applicants should come for interview at different dates. Okay, so John is supposed to come for the interview on 8th. On 8th at actually not 8th. Supposed to come for the interview September 2nd, 2022. And then time is interview starts at 8 a.m. in the morning. So we enter 8 a.m. in the morning. Good. Then use this scroll bar to scroll along. We want to enter another candidate. How do you get another field here to enter another candidate? You click new entry right here. So new entry, and now we are going to have Mary Swift, P.O. Box, P.O. Box, it's Mary Swift, P.O. Box. It's number we enter there. I can remove that comma. And then Mary is coming from Eldoret, and then this is Kenya. And you can change the country if you want. Then let's scroll. Let's fill out the date. Now Mary will not take her interview on 2nd. She's going to take her interview on 3rd. Okay, 3rd of September. And then she's supposed to arrive for interview at 10 a.m. This should be 8 a.m. so I'll remove that. Let's have another candidate. We want 5 of them. So I click new entry, and then we are going to have Moses Peter, P.O. Box, and Moses is from Nakuru. From Nakuru city, and this is Kenya. Or we can make Moses come from a different country. Every card is multinational country, so Moses can be coming from Lusaka, Malawi. All right, so we have the dates. The dates are going to be different. So it's September, but this is going to be on 4th. Okay, and then the interview starts at 9. Interview starts at 9. So there we are. Then let's have another candidate. We actually have 2 to go. So we go to new entry. Then we are going to have let's going to have Juliet. This is Juliet who? This is Juliet Titus. And this is PO box. Let's assume that Juliet comes from Tanzania. Okay, remember the point here is I want to show you how you can use different countries. So let's assume Juliet comes from Tanzania and she actually comes from Moshi. And then we have Moshi, and this is Tanzania. And then the date she will come. Sorry, we should have completed this one. This should be 2022. Then this is it's September and it's 2nd and it's 2022. And this one, let's remove that N. And the time is 10:30. Okay, that is when the interview should be actually be 8. No, let's make it 10. It should be actually, let's make it 10:30. It should be 10:30. Great. Let's have one more, and let's click new entry. You can have as many as you want, but for the purposes of learning, we're going to have 5. So new entry we're going to have here is Laura. Then this is Laura Michael. Now Laura Michael, this is PO box. Laura Michael comes from Uganda. Comes from Kampala, Uganda. And Kampala, Uganda. So this is Uganda. And who? Let's make this. This is Mary. Mary comes from Pretoria. All right, South Africa. We want to make sure that they have different addresses. All right, so let's finish up with this one. This interview will take place on 5th, all right, of September, and she will be sitting for our interview at 2 p.m. All right, this one, she's coming from Malawi, so she'll be sitting for our interview, let's say 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. 2:30 p.m. So there you are. Now remember, you can add as many recipients as you want. Keep on adding as many as you want. So if this letter is supposed to go to 50 applicants, you can put all your 50 applicants here. Remember, again, this is your data source. So after we do that and we check to make sure that everything is correct, I just confirm that everything is correct, I think we are good to go. Then you click OK. Once you click OK, since that is a separate document, we have called it data source, so you need to save it. Remember, First, we save the main document, the letter that you created. Now, this is another document that you are calling data source, and it contains the data of the recipient. And so it has to be saved separately. Then later on, what Word will do is it will pick your data source, the main document, and then combine them together and produce the final output, which is going to be letters addressed to those specific people. So let's save this one. We can call it our data source. That is our data source, and we can decide where we want to save it. All right, but as for now, we are going to allow it to save it in this location called my data sources. Right, so you just click save. There you are. So we have just finished this step. From there, we move to the next step, which is greeting line. Now, greeting line is whereby you greet the recipient before you are actually at the beginning of the letter, and you want the greeting lines to be placed here. So before you set the greeting line, you position your cursor where you want the greeting lines to be. Currently, our cursor is down here, so we want our cursor to be right above re. So you click there. There you are. That's where we want to put our greeting line. So now you go to greeting line, you click greeting line, and you have insert greeting line dialog box. Now, if you come to greeting line format, to click here, you notice there are two types of greeting line. One is whereby you address the recipient as dear, and the other one is to, like when you say to whom may concern, right? So choose to use you can pick any of these. If you pick to, then they'll be addressed to John McKay, right? If you pick dear, then they'll be addressed dear John McKay. So you decide which one that you want. If you don't want any, you just click none, and they are going to be addressed McKay, right? So let's pick dear, right? That's all you need to do at this point, and then you just click OK. Click OK. Now what Word will do is it will put a label here with the name greeting line, but later on that label is going to be replaced with the actual greeting line. So once you do that, the next thing that you want to do is now you enter the names of the recipients. Who are the recipients of this letter? Now, the recipient's address should come below the sender's address. So what you're going to do is we are going to move this letter down. And how do you do that? We learned how to do that. Let me just pull up my keyboard to show you how you do that, how to use the enter key. So all you need to do is you position your cursor there at the beginning and make sure the highlighting is not blue. If it's blue like this, the moment you do anything, you're going to delete it. So make sure it's gray. You just click there, it will be gray, and you're good to go. If you're not sure about that, click at the top here and then use your enter key right here to push the letter down. We want to create enough space for recipient's address, and I think that is enough. So once you position it there, you click here, and now you can enter the recipient's address there. So allow me to pull down this keyboard. Actually, just click here to minimize it. So now we are here. The next thing we want to enter is the recipient address. How do you do it? Once you make sure that the cursor is in the right place, you come here to insert merge field. You will click this small drop down list button here, you click it, and you're going to see the fields that you created: first name, last name, address, city, country, date, region. So you just click first name, it will be entered there. Come back here, click this small drop down list button here, and then you enter last name, right? Now you can choose to enter them in one single line and rearrange them later, or you can arrange them as you enter them. So we know first name, last name, they appear in one line, but the other address should appear below them. So I can just, let me pull my keyboard, my cursor is here. I can just click enter, all right, and then Once you click enter, you can now continue. Want to enter the address, you click address, right? You press enter on your keyboard, you go and click city, you press enter on your keyboard, you go and click country. There you are. Now what you notice here is we still have more fields, date and time, but you cannot enter date and time here. They are supposed to be entered, let me scroll up, they're supposed to be entered here in their respective places on this letter. So you don't enter them here. All right, so you need to position the cursor where they need to be, and interview on, this way you need to enter your date. So I'm going to delete these two dots, or rather those dotted lines there. These ones, I don't need them, so just click there and use backspace to delete them. Good. And I want to position my date there, so let me pull down the keyboard. I want to position my date there. So now I go to field and I pick date. You click date, it will enter this kind of a label. Let's pull it back again once more. Okay, make sure there's a spacing between the on. We should have a character space there. Date, between date at, there should be a character space there, right? So now I want to enter the time, so I'll click here and I'll use backspace to delete this dots. Now I want to put my date and time. Always make sure there's a one character space so that your time is not back to back with the new line there. So I position my cursor there and then I go to field and then I pick time, and there it is. Of course after time should have full stop. So there you go. So now we have, sorry, we should have a space there. So now we have our fields here in the right place and our date in the right place. Why are we doing this? Remember, for each candidate, the date and the time is going to be different. And that's why we are positioning them here, so that when Word combines the data source and this main document, every candidate's time is going to be different at the date. They are going to be exactly the way we enter them in the field. That is what you're doing. Now at this point, let's do some more improvement. First name, last name. If you don't put a character space between these two, they are going to appear as one single name. But these are two names, so you want to put a character space there. So how do you do it? Let me pull my keyboard. You already know how to put a character space between two words. Let me just pull my keyboard and show you. So you come and click in between them. Okay, if when you click there you get a blue highlighting like this one, don't do anything, because when you press any key you will lose the whole of that label. So you make sure the highlighting is gray. So just come there and just click once. You need to have a gray highlighting, which is great. So let's put a character space. We use the space bar, we learned that. So just click once and you have one character space. You can even make it two. I think that's great. So now we are ready to go to the next step. But before we do that, their address and the letter, they seem to be pretty far apart. Let's bring them closer. So to bring them closer, how do I move this letter upward so that this space between them is not as big? You use backspace. Let me pull my keyboard. Now this is what we call backspace. Like I mentioned before, we want to move this letter a little bit upward here to close this gap, or at least reduce the gap. That means you have to delete backward, deleting the space here. So to do that, you click greeting line there, then you use backspace. You click backspace, it will move a step back, right? And I think that is good now. Let me pull down this one. Yours faithfully. Let's correct this one. Yours faithfully. Great. So now what we need to do is, what's wrong with the secretary? not sure what's wrong with the secretary. I think that's how you write it. So now what we need to do right now is we have finished this process here. We want to go to the next step. As you notice, it's a step by step. We started with mail merge. We went to select recipient, then we went to greeting line, we went to insert merge. Now we come to preview. Now when you click preview, all these labels, sorry, we are on mailings. When you click preview, all these labels will be replaced with the right information. So let's click preview and see preview. Now notice now this has been replaced by the real name of that candidate, and this is Dear John McKay. Notice the date and time have been replaced, the real time for that candidate. So now this is the first candidate, and there are these buttons here. Okay, this is the first candidate. If I want to see the next candidate, I'll click this button, next record. And this is the other candidate. You notice this is Mary Swift. They come from South Africa, Pretoria, and notice their mailings. Notice their date is different. The date and time is different. I can go to the next candidate by clicking this button, next record. And this is Moses. Moses comes from Lusaka, Malawi. Now the point here is to understand what we're doing. Whether Lusaka is the capital, is a town in Malawi or not, that's not the point. The point here is to understand how this one works. And so this date and time are different for that candidate. And then you can see it's the fourth one and the fifth one. All right, so you notice now they have different times and the dates to show up for the interview. So once you notice that everything is correct and you are okay with it, you go to the final step. In the final step, you click finish merge. You click finish merge, you actually click this small button here. We call this drop down list button, and then you click edit individual documents. And now you get merge new document. Now when you pick the option all, Word will merge all the document, meaning you are going to get 5 letters addressed to different candidates. If you click current record, it will only create or mail merge this one record, and the rest will not be mail merged. If you click from, and then let's say you tell it to merge the first letter all the way to the third letter, it is going to merge only 3 letters. So even though you have 5 applicants and you've entered their data source, you only get 3 letters, right? So we want to merge for all those candidates, not 3 of them, all of them. So you click all, and then you click OK, and you're done. Now watch what happens. We are going to scroll. Remember, initially we had 1 letter. Now we are going to scroll and see how many letters we have. They're supposed to be 5, and they're supposed to be addressed to the 5 candidates with the specific details for each candidate. So the first is John McKay. You can see the details. You scroll down there. They're supposed to come for the interview on 2nd, 8 a.m. Scroll down and see down here. Who is down here? Here's another letter. Remember, you only wrote 1 letter, but here's the second letter addressed to Mary Swift. She is supposed to come for the interview on that 10 a.m. Mary comes from Pretoria. Keep on scrolling. You see that letter addressed to a different candidate. This is Moses Peter. Moses Peter should come for the interview on 4th at 2:30 p.m. Moses Peter comes from Lusaka. Scroll down again. You're supposed to see the 4th letter, and this letter is addressed to Juliet. Juliet is supposed to come from Tanzania, and they will be reporting for interview at 10:30 on 2nd. Then you scroll down and you're going to get the final candidates, and this is Laura. You notice she's addressed very well, dear Laura Michael. Laura is coming from Kampala, Uganda. Laura is supposed to show up for interview on 5th of September and 2 p.m. So notice now you have 5 letters, but you only wrote 1 letter. This is the most important procedure in Microsoft Word. It helps to make your work easier. So you don't have to sit down and write like 100 letters. You're supposed to send letters to 100 people. All you need to do is, if the letter is the same, and the only difference is maybe things like dates and venue and time and the address of the recipients, just write 1 letter. Where the information required is different, leave a space, don't put it there. Put that information in the data source when you are entering the data about the candidates. And then as you go through the process of mail merging, insert those fields at the right place in the letter or in the addresses. And then after that, you're going to get a complete letter that is addressed to all those people with the appropriate information specifically for them. That is how you do mail merge. Now, this is very important, and it's the final part with the Microsoft Word. What I want you to do is this. I want you to take time. I want you to open a new Microsoft Word program. I want you to type a letter of your choice. It doesn't have to be what you've typed here. It can be any letter of your choice, but make sure there are details in the letter that you cannot fill them out because they are supposed to be different for different recipients. Now, such details like dates and time and any other thing that you might think of, if you want to include things like emails, whatever it is that will be in that letter that will be different for each recipient, you leave it blank, and then you incorporate that data in the data source, and then you insert them correctly where they're supposed to be for specific candidates. Once you've done that, you complete your mail merge, and you're going to get a complete document that has specific information for each recipient of that letter. Master this technique. It is going to be very helpful to you. So, you can rewind. I know this is a long process. You can rewind this video, go through it again as you do it. Then once you complete it and you've made merge to your letter, I want you to pause the video and do it now without having to watch the video and see whether you've understood how this one works. So, in the next video lesson, we're going to be diving into something totally new, Microsoft Excel. But as for now, I want you to get to work. I want you to practice this, perfect it. And I'll see you in the next video lesson as we dive into a whole new package, Microsoft Excel. I want to believe you've enjoyed this package and really mastered everything that you've learned. Remember, you don't master something in one day, so keep on practicing, take your own time, go through the video lesson, practice over and over and over again, from how you do page setup, insert page numbers, do margins, how you insert borders, how you insert clip arts. Practice over and over and over again. The good thing about online course is you can always come back to any given video. If you've forgotten anything, you go through the video, you get to remember what you did, and then you do it over and over again. So you have a lifetime access to this course, so you can always come back to this course. If you want to do something and you forgot what we did, you can come back to this course, go to the specific lesson where we covered that, watch the video lesson, remind yourself, and then go ahead and do whatever it is that you wanted to do and you had forgotten. This is the good thing with online course, because you have lifetime access to this course. So take your time, practice, perfect, get good with Microsoft Word. And I'll see you in the next video lesson. Actually, we are going to be starting a new package tomorrow, and that is Microsoft Excel. Until then, perfect and practice and get good at mail merging, and I'll see you then.